Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Kingston Historic Landmark Preservation Commission meeting. Today is June 6th. It is 6:31 p.m. and we are at City Hall, Conference Room 1. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I'm the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. Our office is administrators, the HLPC. I'm just going to make a few short announcements and then I will turn the meeting over to Chairman Grumblatt. In case of an emergency, we do ask that you do not use the elevator. Please use the stairs. If you need assistance, please let us know and we'll help you. The bathrooms are through the chambers. Men's is to the left, once you're on the other side, and women's to the right. If you would, please silence your cell phones and so that they do not interrupt conversations that are going on at the meeting. Also, if you do have any side conversations, we ask that you take them out of the room and you can use the chamber or there is another conference room on the other side as well. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chairman Grumblatt to start the meeting, introducing the members.
Thank you. I'm Mark Grumblatt. I chair Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. I'm going to ask each member to introduce themselves, and I'll start with you, Kevin.
Kevin McAvoy, Commissioner.
Robert Tonner, Commissioner.
Andrea Hughes, Architect of the Commission.
And Amy Morano, Commissioner.
And Ethan.
I am Ethan Dickerman. I'm the Historic Preservation Administrator.
I do also just quickly want to know, we are live streaming and recording the meeting.
All right. First order of business is last month's meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Are there any corrections or additions that anyone would like to raise at this time? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Thank you, Nettie. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Andrea. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin?
Aye.
Robert?
Stating it was.
Fine. And Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
I also vote aye. All right. I think we are going to reshuffle the order tonight. And is anybody here for 48 North Front Street?
I am.
Yay!
Hi.
If you come have a seat and give us a quick overview of what's happening and what the plan is and
Somewhere. Okay, hi everyone, Victoria Polidoro here on behalf of Front Street for LLC. This was presented to the commission at the last meeting. The idea is to provide windows so that the second floor can be converted into an apartment. It was previously an apartment. It's not an apartment now, and in order to make it an apartment, again, it needs to meet current codes, have adequate egress, et cetera. So at the last meeting, you were presented with windows that had a transom above.
yes.
And the board had requested that the transom be removed and that the windows be changed to be 101. So new plans have been provided to you, which hopefully comply.
All right. Do any commission members have any questions? Robert, especially looking at you since you missed this last time around.
No, I kind of read up on it, but I think it makes so much.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It balances it.
Right,
very
yeah.
much so.
Yeah, I think it's a
And
definitely
this
improvement.
is compliant with the form-based code, with the architectural standards now. So it speaks to the cornice, it speaks to the looking at the buildings on either side and carrying through with that symmetry from that. Also, they added to each window a lintel and a sill, which are required, and they were the 1/1, which corresponds as well to the other windows. So, yeah. And the stucco is an allowed exterior finish, as we talked about last month. So that can be carried forward with have to be like a smooth finish required, but we've spoken to the architect about that as well.
Are we going to need to revisit the advertising sign on the wall as it sits today, do you think?
So the sign will have to be removed in its current iteration. And we will discuss with the tenants, what other options there may be, but right now, the two windows would go through the sign.
I kind of guessed that, eyeballing it.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the
I have
commission?
color samples as well for you.
That would be great.
This is, it's hard to tell in the print, so these match the color of the existing building now, and the concept is to continue that. The patches needed, and then this would be for the cornice and the sills. And this is, Sherwood Williams Earl Grey.
So the lintel and the sills, are they going to be a stone material, do you know? Or,
I believe they were like a stucco or something, so.
okay, it'll be a stucco, but a different color.
Mhm.
Okay,
The 3 dimension.
Right, it's not just gonna be painted, it's going to be formed.
Yeah, there's a section of it.
And the cornice will be the solid color.
Yes,
So that's trying to show shadowing.
yes, just showing you.
Victoria, which one of these two?
So we were trying to color match what's on the building, and
Yeah,
it's either Lyman, Camellia, or Woodstock
okay,
Rose.
so
we would
they
like,
look very similar.
I'm struggling to tell them apart.
Yeah.
We certainly
Someone's
will.
on it, that's why I
we
asked.
do have the colors, from when paint was painted,
From
we do
everywhere.
have it in our record, we can give you that.
Okay, if you
And then
prefer
we
we
can use-
choose the existing color, we can do that.
Okay, I mean, I'm fine with changing the color if the commission is okay with it, that's
Yeah,
fine.
And these seem just a shade lighter, which I think would probably be good, given you want the contrast with the gray.
I mean, the concept was to match because the bottom likely would not be repainted because the tenant has done all that work to it. That's their branding,
Yeah, I remember.
yes. Have you been in the shop? It's very colorful.
Just a quick break. Do you guys own the building next to the green?
Yes,
Oh.
I mean, not me, but that's part of it. It's actually the same building. It's one connected structure with a demotic wall there on the bottom floor.
Yeah, that's right.
So at one point, it probably was separate buildings, and then it's been smushed together. So it's like a Frankenstein building.
Wasn't that an alleyway at one time?
Earl Grey.
There wasn't even a building. Do you know that? Oh, yeah.
What was the question?
I thought that where that building was, where half the building was an alley. There was a building there.
You go back far enough that
That was a long.
yeah, you can see how it's a fill-in kind of situation. So that would clearly be before this photo was taken. Which, gauging from the cars is like the 50s.
Yeah, this is 1950.
And so maybe the middle section was taken out, and that's your alley.
I guess would be Artie's wasn't a thing.
Artie's
In the 1700s, maybe.
So you can actually see the
Yeah.
remnants of the old slope roof inside. They just kind of modified it over time. The three
Yeah,
buildings are
and we saw some fascinating photos. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a complicated roof line.
It's very, yes, the roof line is very complicated.
Yeah. All right, any other questions?
Are these Sherwin-Williams, do you know?
So, yeah, yes.
Okay.
I believe so. Paul said that they could be matched.
Okay.
So it would be helpful if you approve those two paint colors
Yeah.
or existing, the one
That's
that's
what
what we
I'm
were
trying
shopping, so
to. Yep,
they can, thank you. It's just hard with the prints.
and you said Earl Grey,
Sherwin.
Sherwin-Williams 2113.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker.
So moved.
Thank you, Robert. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Andrea?
Hi.
Nettie?
Hi.
I also vote yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Oh, just a moment. There's more.
Oh.
There's always.
Nice try. You thought the state environmental quality review act was all that. A sweet thought. All right. I hereby move that our commission find as fact that the proposed fenestration modifications and cornice installation at 48, formerly 46 North Front Street in the Kingston Stockade Historic District, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in section 405-26L of the City of Kingston's form-based zoning code, is compatible with the historic character of the district for the following reasons. The proposed work is to take place in a two-story storefront building on the south side of North Front Street, located between Wall and Crown Streets, in which the July 1987 building structure inventory form prepared by Friends of Historic Kingston states that it could date to as early as the 1840s, but that an exact date of construction is hard to determine. The shop once housed H. Hoteling in 1894, news dealer James McIntyre in 1901, and subsequent businesses included painters, barbers, beverages, a tavern, artistic beauty salon, and Artie's Bar and Grill. That the applicant shall modify the existing second-story North Front Street facing fenestration to consist of, I believe it's 5, not 4 symmetrically. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
All right. Let's correct that one here. 5 symmetrically placed 361 Pella double hung wood-clad architect series windows with the black frames and grills that are not original to the structure as evidence. Hold on a second. It's now going to consist of that in place of these black frames and grills.
No, the windows will still be black.
Windows, okay,
Yeah, and they'll still have,
that are not original to the structure as evidenced by a circa 1950 property record card. I get it, thank you. That the new windows will provide needed light and air to the second floor space, which will be a 2-bedroom residential apartment. That the applicant also seeks to install a corbelled cornice across the structure, which is not original to the structure's design as evidenced by a 1950s property record card. That the proposed project does not conform.
yes.
Let me correct that. Is deleting not. That the proposed project does conform with the character of the Kingston Stockade Historic District. However, HPLC recognizes that it represents a creative vision by the applicant, which would be a unique change to the design history of this structure. That the proposed project will, however, be considered a suitable rehabilitation project as it maintains the structure's usefulness. That the applicant will provide to the city HPLC staff that it is conforming with section 45.14 of the provisions of the form-based code. Has that already happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that way to me. And that any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to additional work being carried out. Our commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Let's see, that it will be painted with colors including Earl Grey by Sherwin-Williams, their number 2113. And the body of the front facade will be either Lyman Camellia or Woodstock Rose, also by Sherwin-Williams. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the 6th day of June 2024, that our commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in their application to the commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I have a second? Do you have a question?
Yes, I don't want to throw a wrench in things. When the addresses were changed, when they created the second space, maybe we can just call it that. I thought it became 44 everywhere shop, 46 upstairs, and then 48 with Stella's. But
We can check that and
Yeah.
confirm addresses. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure what the,
Okay, so I'll just make a note on this, that with staff's confirmation of address.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be good.
Okay.
Thank you, we didn't realize that. All right, I'm still awaiting a second. Thank you, Nettie. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Andrea?
Aye.
Nettie?
Aye.
I also vote aye.
thank you, everyone.
And thank you.
Do you want to keep this for them?
That would be great.
Yeah, we can,
That would
that'd be
be
great.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Have a great evening. Stay dry.
Yeah, well, the drive away was rough, but it looks nice now.
Oh, to answer your question, I don't, I'm looking at the Nierenstein map, circa 1940, I don't see an alley there. So we might have been earlier. Probably gotta check.
Have a great night.
I'll check my.
And now, just because the fun never ends,
Never.
that's right. Form-based code review.
Okay.
No, I'm a little punchy, I'm sorry.
So we began this discussion a few months ago about revisiting section 405-26L. And that was the result of the zoning task force taking a look at the form-based code, making observations, preparing potential edits in the future. And what we did is we took a look at the existing version of the landmarks code, which had been kind of split in a couple different places, with the key place being section 405-26L, and then compared that with the law that is put forward by SHPO, as well as a couple other communities that have had landmark preservation programs for some time. So City of Syracuse, City of Ithaca, City of Albany, and elsewhere. And so the document that's before you is a careful synthesis of those documents, those best practices, and attempts to create a fairly robust, but also efficient and easily understandable code change. So tonight, what we'll be doing is looking through this, receiving feedback from you if you look through it, and then hopefully preparing a recommendation to that zoning task force for them to consider.
Another thing that this will do is that, and it's identified right at the top, is that there's a separate section in the city's administrative code 264. And so the recommendation would be to completely remove that from the code, and then this part of the code, because there were conflicting language in them. So rather than having it in two places, which makes no sense, combining it all and making it comprehensive into this 405 section.
Yeah, this has been a big problem in enforcement for decades. The fact that half of it came in with one style of language and the other came in about 12 years later
Right.
with a very different scheme, and sometimes reconciling the two made it very complex. The first one, I think, was really targeted at the stockades.
Okay, yeah, and if that was basically when historic preservation really was initiated in Kingston, that section of the code was written and put into place. And then as the other districts came on board, the Landmarks Preservation Commission was created, they put it into the zoning, I believe it was in 85, it got brought into the zoning code as its own section. So it grew in that section, but never kind of followed suit in the other, so it
Never
really just cleans it up.
reconciled. If we had been challenged on that, maybe we, that's
Right.
a thing to prove, so I'm very relieved.
Kevin, you had submitted a couple of comments. Do you want to talk about your comments?
Yeah, well, for the most part, even when I discussed it, I think some of them were, maybe they weren't, terribly relevant and moot. Yeah, I think even check the citations, yeah, that was the first one. This is somewhere buried in the package towards the end. Yeah, I had one question about appointments.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if somebody expires and they don't get reappointed? We've had that before on this particular board, I've had that on other boards. It usually, I think, on some other board that I'm on, we have commissioners shall serve until reappointed or replaced or something, paraphrasing it. So, I don't know if that's a question for the court counsel or what that is, but
Right,
just something I've seen.
So you're referencing item B, appointments on page 2. I would point out item C.
Number 3, I think it is, yeah, page 2.
Yeah, 3B, and then in 3C,
C, right.
term shall expire upon adoption of this article, present members shall serve until the expiration of their terms.
Yeah, or until blah, blah, blah. That's what I was asking, if that's something to consider or not.
I know that that is practice.
Yeah.
I don't know legally if that can be codified like that, but
Could be
that.
case law.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that would be something we would need to check with
Check.
Corporation Counsel.
exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of been the rule of thumb, but it's kind of an unwritten rule. So
Yeah,
yeah, again, I don't know about codifying it, okay?
Yeah,
But it's a good point.
yeah, I don't have a question, and I'm not saying the
The
conflict.
closest
whatever.
they've come to dealing with it up till now is when they have suddenly remembered that we need to be reappointed. When you sign in, it is set to be from the end of your prior term.
Right.
For another 3 years.
So the other thing about making a mention of it in code is that then, it wouldn't void if you were sitting on the commission and your term had expired and you voted on something, it wouldn't then void the vote, you know what I mean? So that is a benefit of,
Right.
I think, putting it
It's
in
an
code.
added protection rather than
Right, exactly.
running down to the city
Yeah.
clerk's office the next week
Yeah.
and signing in.
Could check the climate commission and the CAC and see what they did. And that was handy. But the court counsel will have an answer on that for sure.
It sounds rational.
Check in on that.
The next thing was on training. I was suggesting adding historic societies and museums that offer relevant programs for training. Like, we were looking at that recent Joe Diamond RPO thing early. I don't know if the language would exactly cover that. I think the language that Ethan put in is the pretty much straight out of the certified local government. Correct?
Right. So, I mean, it just, I mean, I don't want to get too specific because it can be like, something can come up and we may feel that it's a valid training. I think training may be provided in a variety of formats, including but not limited to electronic media, video, distance learning, and traditional classroom training. And I mean, it can come from it can come from any source. You guys might find something from the APA that might be a suitable training, so I don't want to just kind of limit.
No, I was trying to not.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we could add these in before the catch-all other similar entity, and I don't think
Yeah,
anything's.
okay, that would work, sure. If anybody hadn't seen the Joe Diamond thing from early, it was informative.
I attended
Oh,
that.
you were there in person?
Well, not in person, but yeah, I was
Yeah.
on the Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Does it remain available online?
Yes, they have a whole series of them.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned it.
Wow, I didn't realize.
Some of them were, this one had to do with RPO and secret for the most part, we covered other aspects as well. Yeah, there's a variety of topics, and then there's the Huguenot Society, stuff, there's a lot of things out there.
How would you find that? Is it under Joe Diamond?
Early Heritage Society. The quorum thing we don't have to deal with, I think we know what we're doing, that's the majority of the authorized total. That's come up on other boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see, British burn the majority of the stockade is, just added as well as other sites in Kingston. Because I did burn sites.
They didn't stop at the stockade wall.
So I would agree with that.
Wildly Brits.
The 1989, I was comfortable with the map that's on the most recent zoning.
Okay,
Yeah.
the form-based code map.
Yeah, not going back to 89, opening up the
Okay.
question on Fair Street reform
Okay.
to who kind of warranted, and then they became part of it when it went on the map.
Okay,
It's just that when they did this, I think it was in the last days of this Ohio administration. The way the council did it, it's a little, we could have had a properly worded resolution. I mean, there's a resolution for sure, but it doesn't give you the description of the historic district.
It just says
Yeah.
see map attached.
Something to
Yeah,
this
something
effect,
like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was no legislative intent. Expect to see. And then in kind, wasn't sure if we went, or if we want to codify that, maybe we don't.
that is,
That is codified?
it is, it's not, we had this discussion when the form-based code was coming, before it even got adopted.
Right.
It is under the administrative review section, but it's not in the HLPC. It's under the building permit section where,
Oh, yeah, the administrators.
so it wouldn't get referred to HLPC, so it's like a step before
So
that.
don't bother with
So
that.
it's-
That's out.
right.
Okay. And then my final question is there anything from HAC's purview that we should pick up? I mean, you're picking up the overplanning.
Right,
And
that was,
what used to be the heritage reviews, which I think might get addressed in the Marissa.
some
in the
of,
board package.
right,
Yeah.
they're, most of those are being done desk review
Yeah.
right now. And as districts or properties come on board, either locally or at a higher level of recognition, they will come before you.
And the letters of support, are we gonna do that on the CFA or anything that's pertaining to historic preservation?
Yeah, but we
Historic
don't have any CFA grants.
Yeah, there aren't any this year.
No,
I haven't spoken to Ruth, so I.
No, or, we will be doing, actually, we are filing a CFA grant for the lighthouse, so it probably will be asking if the
Okay.
scope is just getting written. I did the draft of the narrative, so there will be one to
Okay, so
do,
we'll have to.
Yeah.
approve the letter.
right,
But that will be in the July meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that covers that. Yeah, motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Well, and then we want to go through the,
No.
Okay, I know that we did the ZBA where I wanted it, thank you. And
Yeah.
I did have a question about demolition of a non-landmark historic property and emergency designation.
So that is
so
a,
the page, just give the page so everybody can go with.
Page 5 and 6.
Starts on the bottom of 5.
so that is a modification that was recognized and suggested based on the city of Syracuse's code, which recognizes that there are a number of, eligible properties throughout that city as there are in the city. And it seeks a more robust and, research-informed method for catching properties that may be subject to, destruction.
All right, and does this supplement the old demolition by neglect? Or is it in place of?
I think it works together.
No, here's demolition by neglect. And
Yeah, no, this is a separate, this is a non-landmark historic property.
okay, so
And
this is the,
So they're different.
but you're using the, I have done an emergency designation and got yelled at by Jim Satile quite a long afternoon of getting yelled at.
Let's be nice.
Well, it worked out in the end. He agreed that they should go back and reseal the building that they were trying to sandblast and all that stuff. Yes, thank you. I feel better knowing I'm not making this up. But, yeah, and this is mirroring the idea of taking it to common council. Is that what's meant by council? Just always council means that?
Correct.
Or does it need to say, Kingston Common Council, just common council? I don't know the vocabulary part of this. There it is, creation and purpose, here and after council. I like it.
This also replaces the terminology of preservation notice of action.
Let's see that.
Okay,
No more PNOAs.
with a certificate, which is more,
COA.
yeah. It's a certificate of appropriateness, and that's a more recognized terminology for, so it kind of just brings us more in play.
Can you call it CAC?
Certificate
You're
of
honest.
preservation, certificate of,
Well,
Propriety.
CAP, certificate of appropriateness. I'm being weird, sorry.
I'm not the only punchy one here tonight. This is good news.
I do have a little bit more than a handful, maybe two
Sure.
big handfuls of a few comments myself. Some of them were just random things that I happened to see as we were going through, but I read it cover to cover.
Do you have, like, we
I
call it
have, I have exact sections, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not just on the page. Section 8, the lettering actually starts off incorrectly. I think it was continued from a previous section.
Okay.
So, yeah, it starts out with E instead of.
Okay, I see that.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
That one was a silly thing. And also, section 8, letter G, number 2, or II, the last sentence is not finished.
Letter G.
Number 2, letter 2,
Oh.
sorry, up on G, can you go
Yeah,
a little bit more?
Okay, staff shall notify the owner, right, that, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what was intended there.
Matt, we said it's gonna be before the HLPC. Staff shall review the application for
Yeah,
demolition,
right
prepare
there.
a staff assessment for
Yeah.
HLPC. Staff shall notify the owner of the HLPC. Be reviewing. Simple. Thank you.
Number 9, section 9, letter B, II. Specifically referring to how the description is used for large areas of glass. I feel like that's somewhat of a very not, I feel like it doesn't very well describe, I think, maybe what the intent is here with, maybe it's giving a nod towards very modern design. So, because there are a lot of places in Kingston, in historic districts, where there are large areas of glass, like storefront, right, on lower floors. So maybe it would want to read as, hold on a second.
is that even necessary?
But that's what I'm wondering too, but
I don't
maybe
know,
it's,
you know, with the new code and.
Right.
I don't know that sentence is even necessary.
yeah, I mean, that's fine, you can take
Yeah.
it out. Most buildings in landmark districts are stone, wood, or brick with only 2 or 3 surface materials used on the building. There are almost no large areas of glass or polished metal. I don't even know if we need those 2 sentences.
Yeah, not if, I don't think you do either. I would kind of agree with that because the facade materials have to conform with the current architectural materials as defined under the
Right.
new form-based code, and they have to go through a review of your body anyway. So, yeah, I don't know that you need them. I don't know. Anybody else chime in, think?
Drop those sentences.
Yeah, so we're gonna scratch.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
I don't mind the first one, second one's good.
What's the first one?
I don't mind either.
Next one I have is section 10, letter C. Some of the descriptions on some of these things, I think want to be a little bit more consistent on how to be viewed. So there was one in here in particular that talked about a front elevation. Hold on a second.
Yeah, the building height in relation to surrounding buildings, the relationship to nearby roof shapes, the relationship between the width to the height of the front elevation.
So to that, I don't know that I would say the front elevation specifically. I would say just maybe say street facing facade, since that's really what's in our purview instead of just the front.
Okay,
So, because you could have a corner lot, there would be, I think, some intended relationship between what's considered a side now, obviously, based on, I
Okay.
remember from arterial versus,
so instead of the word front, use what, street
Street
facing?
facing,
Street
yeah. And
facing.
I think that's even referred to in
Yeah.
another further on description. And I think that makes sense.
Okay,
In this same section, this same description, letter C, there was another one that talked about instead of paving, it's almost at the very end, it says the appropriateness of paving. I would say maybe hardscaping instead of paving.
okay, I would agree with that. Good.
Because bluestone is not a paver, it's stone. You know, so.
Yep.
Hardscaping is, I think, a better catch-all.
Yep.
That's a new term.
Hardscaping,
Yeah,
similar landscaping, except it's the hard stuff.
right. In logical sense, I just never heard it before.
Yeah. Then jumping down to section 11, letter B, letters I and II.
Different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, one of them might want to say owner instead of applicant.
Right.
I think, yeah,
So keep both.
no, one change,
Change one to applicant, yeah, one should be owner.
yeah.
Yeah,
And if they're one the same, then that's.
I can't remember, the owner and the applicant both have to have the signatures on the applications?
The owner's signature,
Just
has
the
a
owner?
definite signature.
Yeah.
That's, we always require owner signature.
That, yeah,
Yeah.
but the applicant, not necessarily.
No.
Right, so, maybe confirm that between I and II. Because here it says we need the signature of the applicant.
I mean, typically the applicant's completing the application. I don't think that's a big deal.
Right.
The bigger
Well,
issue
owner.
is to make sure the owner's permission is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Same 11B, but letter V. I don't know that I would require a perspective drawing. Or maybe I would say instead of just perspective drawing, do perspective drawings or renderings if required by the commission. Because we've approved plenty of drawings or plenty of intended applications without perspectives.
How would that not sort of then mesh with IV above?
Elevations are not perspectives.
Okay.
They're very different things.
Yeah.
Elevations are orthogonal drawings, they have they're dimensionally, stable drawings. So you can measure any aspect of it and find out what you need, but a perspective is not such. A perspective obviously gives you a lot more information because you can see depth better than a standard line drawing. It does tend to be harder for people to understand, which is why I would say perspective drawing if required, perspective or renderings
Or
if
rendering.
required. Yeah. Also, again, in the same section, I think it's VIII 8, photographs of existing conditions, and III, location and photographs of the building structure or land. I don't know that you even need VIII if we're taking photographs of the
Yeah.
building anyway. One thing I think I would add in here that is not present that I don't think I saw was adding in a site plan. Even if it's just a Google map, so, you don't have to hire a surveyor to have your property surveyed and indicated all of the, property lines, the setbacks, all that stuff, but at least giving us an idea so you don't have to keep taking screenshots of Google Maps. Ask the applicant, please send us a screenshot of a Google map, or if you have a survey, because a lot of people have them done when they purchase their homes, could you give us a copy of your survey?
I mean, a simple site plan is.
It's not hard to do, no.
I would just put in,
Site plan
Site
or
plan.
a map.
or plot plan. Okay.
Would the tax map work?
That would be fine too.
You can get that off the parcel.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
tax maps don't have the building on.
Right.
Big
Yeah.
substructure,
That's true.
so that's not gonna do you any good.
Yeah, and it's not always right.
Oh, and also please include a north arrow. That would be great. A north arrow.
And North Arrow,
I
yeah,
gotta
that's
say-
a great thing, thank you.
That is always, like,
All caps.
back from college days, rule number one, if you're gonna draw something, you must put a north arrow on your drawing, so it's evident for people to say, instead of the top of the sheet, well, somebody's got the sheet rotated around, which way is up?
Yeah, I can come up with language of site plan that, like, you want scale, you want,
I mean, even if
you
it's,
want,
look,
you want
somebody's
an
gonna be
adjacent road. I mean, you
Yeah.
want the frontage, you want adjacent, I mean,
yeah,
you want some basic information. You can't
Context.
just, yeah.
right, give me a little context.
Context, yep,
Yeah.
okay, we can come up with something. Okay,
And then on IV, again, of this same section, we say the elevations of the proposed change, but we also don't indicate in here plans. But I know it's actually part of the application, so just, I guess consistency in what's required here in B versus what we're actually asking for in the application.
okay.
Does that make sense? I don't have too many left, guys.
You've got some great catches here.
Very good.
Code stuff is not my favorite, I'm not gonna lie, but, when you go over it enough, you start picking up on those things. Skipping on to section 13. Letter E. And then subletters I and II. So deteriorated or crumbling exterior plasters, mortars, or facades, and deteriorated or inadequate foundation. I would put foundation and facades together, and then plaster and mortar together. Make them two, just change the order around of those. The other thing I think I would add to.
So just take facades off the first one and put it with the second one.
Correct.
Okay.
The other thing I might add to the first one is cementitious materials, not just plaster and mortar. Because you could have parge coating, you could have, other.
Would that cover stucco?
In some cases, yeah. It
Should we just
depends on what kind of stucco it is. Because
Should we
not all
just kind
stucco
of
is
say
created equal.
stucco, add that in as well while we're listing, is that rational?
Cementitious material is probably more historically correct instead of just saying stucco, because what one person calls stucco is not necessarily the same thing. So I'll give you, for example, and this is a really bad example, but on the Kingston Plaza, for example, that's something called ephes, but everybody calls it stucco. It's not actually stucco. It's exterior insulating and finishing system. It's a foam with a
Right,
very light concrete finish on it, or cementitious material, right? It's not the same thing as traditional real stucco.
But would stucco be included under cementitious material?
Yes,
Okay, that's my question.
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah, I would say, yeah, cementitious
I don't know how to
materials.
spell cementatious material.
Well, cement.
Issues. Like delicious, but not.
Yeah, exactly. Cementitious is not delicious. Yeah. Anyway, again, section 13E, under IV, the subletter IV. Deteriorated walls or other vertical structural supports that split, lean, lisp, or buckle due to defective material or deterioration. As silly as this is gonna sound, those couple of words don't even begin to fully grasp all the ways that something can fail. So maybe let's just say et cetera after that, after those couple of words.
After list or buckle, et cetera?
Yeah,
Okay.
because you could have bulging, you could have other things that describe the way that the thing is collapsing, so,
Okay.
you know, I don't want somebody to say like, well, my wall's just bulging, that's not in your list.
So, I mean, we really wanted to say deteriorated walls or other vertical structural supports that split, lean, list, buckle,
Et
et
cetera.
cetera.
Yes.
Drop everything else.
Yeah, you may want to use et cetera in a couple other places too, in this similar, paragraph.
Don't be surprised if Corporation Council wants you to say something more like, yeah, like including but not limited to.
Yeah,
Well,
that might be,
yeah.
yeah.
Sure.
Cementatious material.
Yeah. Going down to letter V of this, members of ceilings, roofs, ceiling and roof supports. I think I would just say ceilings, roofs, or associated structure, or any other associated structure.
Okay, so members of
Rather than
ceilings,
other
roofs.
horizontal members.
So a horizontal member is more than likely going to be a associated structure.
Okay, so it would be in place of that.
Place of
Yeah.
horizontal members, other associated.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, members of ceilings, roofs, and other associated structure which sag, split, or buckle due to defective blah, blah, blah.
Maybe you need the et cetera in there.
That's right, what I was mentioning before,
Yeah.
maybe et cetera again,
Similar language.
But
Yeah.
other associated.
structure.
Okay.
Which, okay. Okay,
13E VII, so defective or insufficient weather protection for roofs, foundation, or exterior wall covering, including lack of paint or weathering due to lack of paint. I would say not just paint, but other sealants. So stain is a sealant, it's not paint. I can't even think of other sealants that might be applicable, but I think sealants in general,
So-
that's the intent.
so it says other protective covering, so,
I mean, a sealant is a protective covering, yes, but maybe instead of saying paint, say lack of sealant or other protective
like a
covering.
sealant,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Okay,
And then my second to last comment here, 13EIX. Any fault or defect in the building or structure which renders it not properly watertight. Instead of watertight, I would say weather tight. And then the last one, my last comment, section 14, letter C. Two other codes you can include along with property maintenance code, fire code, and building code is the residential code and the existing building code. The existing building code very heavily actually focuses on historic structures. So that would be beneficial, I think, for this section.
Where it says building code of New York State.
You could add in also the residential code of New York State and the existing building code of New York State.
Okay.
Yeah, the residential code is a separate code from the building code. The building code is also a catch-all umbrella term, but the
Okay.
building code, since you're listing the other ones here,
Yeah,
you could get more specific and say the residential code and the existing building code.
okay.
This is my job.
And we're glad
I was
you
just
do
gonna say, we're so glad with you.
it.
That's all I've got.
All of those I think are valuable, thank you.
Whenever you email me in advance and say, I'm gonna have a list of notes.
Well, hopefully we'll have to do this again for a while, so.
Right.
Anything else? Okay, if we make those changes, we can circulate it around, and as long as they're acceptable, are you good with us putting this then to the task force that is reviewing the form-based code and flushing out and vetting all changes before they in turn send it to the council?
Yes.
Okay.
And indicate our openness if they
And
have
Kevin's,
questions.
we'll work with Kevin's too, okay, yours in.
Your mine wasn't much.
Yeah, no, but there were some,
Right.
Still useful. You didn't have it tabulated on your phone, oh my gosh. You should have seen me last night, I had my headphones on, I'm sitting there reading this whole thing, and my husband's like playing a game or something, and I'm just like. Yeah, I was there for a few hours doing this, so.
Okay, so can we just do a motion?
All right, then that we refer the suggested updates in Historic Landmark Preservation Commission code to the
Zoning, task
to
force.
the zoning task force and ask that staff incorporate the changes we discussed. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Kevin.
The oaks did it first.
No, you're the clear winner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kevin,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Andrea,
Aye.
Nettie.
Aye.
So vote yes. Unanimity. All right, as soon as the paperwork is circulated, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait, there's more. Sorry, can't we,
All right, hang on.
Very salty email.
It's not, it's the size a little bit.
So, each of you have a printout of an email chain. You don't need to discuss this, but we wanted to share it with you. Some of that precipitated a revisit to an earlier report that was done in 1990, I think maybe initiated with a 1988 Certified Local Government Grant. It was a intensive level survey of the area to the southeast of the Stockade Historic District, as well as Albany Avenue, and at which time they had recommended a stockade expansion, recognizing that area as being significant in terms of community development after the stockade was taken down, and also in terms of architecture. and the same being true for Albany Avenue, which kind of branches up to the north. So staff have begun, revisiting that report, trying to understand the exact scope of work, what would be needed to possibly revisit that, talking with, a couple of, key community stakeholders or individuals with institutional knowledge. Mark, your name. So, we wanted to raise this topic with you all, to see if you'd be in favor of revisiting that, seeing if, potentially starting to find funding sources, maybe write a grant or two. If any of you would like to participate in that writing process, and or at least, a consultation process, working with staff on it. So,
Let us know.
yeah, let us know. You can send us an email or call.
Someone who may have a lot of detail on this is Lowell Fenn,
Okay.
who was chair when some of this went down, if I remember correctly.
Okay, Ethan has caught me, spoke, I think, with you, talked to Marissa, he's gonna reach out to Pam Parisi. So he's been starting already to do some digging and,
If memory serves, Lowell was chair at the
Okay.
time. And he would have more detail than I would, but sure, I'm happy to give you what I can recall.
Okay.
Which was mainly, it was stymied by a couple of major landowners on Albany Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah. It
All
was
right.
Great aim
Good.
at the time.
They're still there.
No, it's changed hands.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I'll give you a call tomorrow.
that'd be great.
One of the discussions Ethan and I were having was, Fair Street is just local. If the stockade were expanded to include Fair Street, that could be, it won't have to be certified, it would actually be the extension of the district.
Yeah, the 1990 report, in short, proposes a stockade expansion that would more or less consume Fair Street. So the thought is that the Fair Street district would not exist afterwards. In time, there would need to be an adjustment of the local landmark district, but that would follow after a stockade expansion district. And just to clarify, it would be its own district separate from the stockade. You would not try to expand the existing stockade. That would complicate matters substantially. The second item, I think, was, so we have, been doing outreach to both of those districts, Wilbur and Kankakee. Kankakee is taking a bit more time to connect with the residents and share with them the benefits of establishing the district, and then also securing the funding for the state and national register. We did submit a certified local government grant with the help of the commission just the other week for proceeding with Wilbur. And at this time, we would encourage moving forward with public hearings for Wilbur, as well as 54 Westchester and Temple Emanuel. And so the thought is maybe doing that at the next meeting on July 10th. And at that same meeting, would we be holding a hearing for the text?
we don't have to do a hearing for that. That would just be part of, once the hearings would be for the local designation, okay? The grant that we're doing for Wilbur is to do the additional level of work and documentation to submit for state and national register nomination. So if we have the hearings and we proceed to decide to turn these three things to the council for a vote on the local, then we also want to put into our referral the tax, reinstituting the local tax credit referral as well, program, which had been in place, had been renewed, and then just never got renewed again. It fell through the cracks, so we want to get that back up on the books. We will say, and Ethan, you maybe could speak a little bit more to this, but since we had Marissa come and do her presentation, we had that recorded. Ethan's been sharing not only the recording, but the information to people, so there has been a lot of interest that generated just from that one short presentation that she gave, which was excellent, and so, yeah, so that was extremely helpful.
I would say that there's at least one confirmed instance where someone has taken up the tax credit program for a fairly substantial project in the Rondout. And then I've shared it with 3 or 4 others who are very interested and I think are pursuing it, especially the homeowner tax credit program. So it's pretty clear that moving forward, especially with all of these, districting, plans, that to open the conversation with that this is a substantial benefit. It's not a major hurdle in terms of an application process. And, these are the next steps to get this to you. And I think that will be something that will, encourage people.
Do we get to count her presentation as training?
That's actually a fair question.
If you watch it every
You have to watch it I don't remember how long her presentation was, like 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah,
You have to watch it multiple times.
Yeah.
If we can, I'm curious, do we have to notify the people in,
Yeah. And we do have, a number of their contact information.
right?
Dumb questions, I haven't looked at the HLPC website in a while, is that linked to that specific video on the website? Because that would be,
I will double check that.
that would be a really good thing to link.
There is a link to a similar presentation by Preservation Buffalo Niagara,
Okay.
which happens to be led by our region's SHPO rep.
Okay.
But that one will be on there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that would be a very good thing for people to see if they, what do you mean that this is a thing? Where do I find more information about it? There's the link.
Watch
Can't
that.
miss it. Yeah, can't miss it. Oh, I also sent you my notes from what we were just talking about.
Thank you very much.
In case we went too fast.
That's good.
Market is late.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't tell me I needed to supply the notes to everybody ahead of time. Gosh.
Okay, so now I think Mark, you
All
can.
right, and the secretary will disavow any knowledge. If any of the HLPC are caught or killed. So. All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, let's do that.
So moved. We have a second from Robert. Thank you kindly. All in favor?
Aye.
By acclamation, we stand adjourned.
This is a whole thing, 9:30 to 10.
No.